Breaking down Arizona Wildcats football, we have reached the bye week after a 49-39 Wildcat loss in Seattle. I am David Kelly, joined as always by Glenn Howell, U of A football class of 1985. And Glenn, you know, I think I did a study a few years ago in terms of what I like to call for football side of it, what happens when you score 4 runs or more and what happens when you score 3 runs or less? It's a baseball analogy. And the point on that for football was 35 points. And generally speaking, the Wildcats win about 80% of the time when they score 35 points or more. This, unfortunately, was not one of those times because, once again, this defense could not get off the field when this game mattered. We'll start in the third quarter. This team's got a third quarter problem, Glenn. I talked about it on Saturday night. They've given up 94 points in the third quarter this season, 56 in the last 3 losses. They are just not prepared defensively or really offensively coming out of the gate, because in the last 3 losses, they've only scored 13 points on offense in the third quarter. To me, that falls on this coaching staff not having these kids ready to play after halftime.
Well, when you go into halftime, what you're supposed to be doing is making adjustments to stop the bleeding, if there is bleeding. Or if you're really doing really well, is to apply more pressure on that other team and go for the kill. We have been in situations where we just really haven't made the adjustments. Everything was continuously the same thing when we came out on the third quarter on the defensive side. They continued to run the same routes and doing the same thing against us. We could not stop the pass. It's almost like we prepared for the run. We did pretty good. They only had 76 yards, and then they passed for 1 billion. You know, it's we have to be ready, be able to adjust to what the other side is the game plan, and I think we just didn't do it.
All right, there were some changes made on the defensive side of the ball, personnel-wise. We talked a little bit about this on Friday, so let's get into how those changes played out. You had Jacob Manu inserted in at linebacker for Colby Cage. And you know what, Glenn? I wrote his name down 3 times on the first 2 drives.
Yeah, he made a great play on the first play. I mean, it was like one of the first plays. He made a great play. I think he did a great job, but after that, the game is 4 quarters. So yeah, we have to continue that play. And he's a young guy, man. He's a guy, he was playing high school football last year. So we got a lot of young guys that's got to learn here. We got, and Warnell, he came in, he led the team in tackles. He's a change up and he led the defense in tackles. He was making a lot of tackles. And we still had a problem with making tackles, man, arm tackles and breaking through. So we still got to feel that we got to check that out and get that better. And hopefully this bye week we can work on that.
Well, I like Jacob Manu's motor. I mean, he just is like looks like a Tasmanian devil, man. He's just the way that his energy that he brings to the defensive side of the ball. It's infectious, but like you said, I mean, it's a long game, and I just felt like after that first quarter, he kind of just disappeared, which a lot of times happens, like you mentioned, with those young players. DJ Warnell, I thought he could play the run well, and I thought he did that, but obviously my concern with him was in coverage, and that's where we saw the issues with him, especially in the second half, Glenn, when he got beat on the long routes there down the middle of the field by Rome Odunze, and then he also got beat on a cross by Jalen McMillan. The coverage part of it is where he is going to have to get better.
And Dave, I got to push back a little bit on it. I don't know if it's the coverage or the amount of time that Penix had that he had room service. He was getting room service and getting some food to eat, and then he was going to throw. Those defensive backs can't cover all day, and we got to get to the quarterback. We're not getting to the quarterback. We just needed to get to the quarterback maybe 2 or 3 times, and it changes this whole game, and we just didn't do it. And I feel for those DBs because you can only cover for so long.
Yeah, well, and they're not getting to the quarterback, and they haven't gotten to the quarterback in the last 2 games, Glenn. No sacks in the last 2 games for this Arizona defense. And, you are what your numbers say you are. And right now, if you're a linebacker who, after 7 games, does not have a single tackle for loss, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah.
The Wildcats right now have 2 core linebackers who do not have a single tackle for loss. I mean, and again, the poster child for that in this century is Scooby Wright, who went an entire season. What did he have? 40, I think, tackles for loss in a 13-game season. And you've played 7 games, and you have 2 linebackers who have not had a single tackle for loss. You can't. No defense can win like that.
That's just not a good number to have. We have to be able to attack the line of scrimmage, and that's what that is. You know, Scooby was a guy that was playing on the other side. He was getting through blocks, that's getting through traffic, and getting to the ball carrier. We have to get better at that. And that is not only for the guys that are at the linebacker position, it's the guys up front, because that means that the linemen are getting up to the linebackers. They're getting a goal. We got to keep those guys off our linebackers so they can flow free and get to the football. We're not doing a very good job of that.
Well, and I think there's some guys, Glenn, that are having on this defense who are having decent years, but the issue that I have is that they're just not consistent from week to week. I mean, you cannot imagine if Jacob Cowing went a game where he had no catches or 1 catches. If you're a defensive player who we're depending on to make plays behind the line of scrimmage, and you go games where you don't make plays behind the line of scrimmage, that's one of the major things that's crippling this defense. Is you've got veteran guys who will make plays certain nights and then disappear on other nights.
It's just like when Larry Smith used to tell us who's going to make a play. Who's going to make a play? You know, or what Wildcat's going to make a play, what Dick Tomey used to say. Those guys, we need somebody to make a play, and we just haven't had those big plays on the defensive side of the ball. We need to get more consistent with that, and somebody's got to it's got to be the will of the player to get to the quarterback. There's somebody on that line that's got to have that will, and we're just not getting it.
Now, and I'll go back to the coaching staff, Glenn, and I want to show this one play from the Wildcats, the Huskies' last offensive series where they scored that final touchdown. And to me, this play epitomizes how Washington completely out-schemed Johnny Nance. They've got tight end, slot, and running back here on the right side. They've got 2 receivers on the left. They're going to run this back out here on a route. Now, he's taken by Christian Young, but what it also did was it totally took Christian Roland Wallace out of this play. And then they ran 3 guys into the middle to cross up your linebackers, who were Jacob Manu and Jerry Roberts. You got Warnell out here on the right, and he basically just runs to a spot in the zone. There was a receiver on that side, and he kind of ran it out, and Warnell went with him. Stukes was already over there, so I'm not sure why he went so far over. And that just leaves the middle of this zone completely open to Jalen McMillan, and he just sits down in that zone and gets 19 yards. I mean, some beautifully drawn up plays. I know we've argued about this. We've argued about this all season, that the Wildcats weren't getting beat in the middle of the field. Well, yeah, they got beat in the middle of the field numerous times in this ballgame.
Yeah, they schemed very well. That's what they did. They did, and we just didn't have any counter. We have to have the counter. Last year I thought we did a pretty good job of countering on coming into the second half. We just got to get better at that. And I don't know if some of the players where they're doing the counters, they're doing some adjustments, and the players are not getting it, or we're just not relaying that message to them. But we have to have that change, or otherwise we're going to have a difficult time winning any of the next couple of games we have.
All right, let's flip it over to the offensive side of the ball. And it's hard to argue with your offense when they put up 500 yards. But there are a few things that I think in this bye week that you need to work on. And that's your short yardage run game, Glenn. I didn't like the 4th and 1 pitch to Williams, which I think they've tried to do that twice now in 2 different games, and it hasn't worked. And then in the second quarter, you had a couple of drives where you had a 2nd and 2 and a 2nd and 1, and you couldn't convert either of those situations into first downs. You've got to be able to run the ball in those short yardage situations. And that, to me, I think they try to sometimes get a little bit too cute with that. But again, you still also have to get better up front and trying to push that pile so you can run more inside. I think they're comfortable running Williams and Coleman kind of off tackle inside, but they're not real comfortable with running them between the tackles inside right now.
I don't understand the pitch play to a downhill runner. If anybody was if they looked it up in the dictionary and put downhill runner, they'd have DJ and Coleman in their pictures. Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do. Feed them and let the offensive line say, hey, we got to get these yards. That's what we have to do. I don't understand the pitch play. It hasn't worked all season, I don't think. I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's worked all season. So we have to be able to maybe pocket that one, put it away, and let's get downhill, because those are downhill runners. You can see how they ran when they were inside, and when they did run inside the tackle, they ran pretty good. And then off tackle, they did really well.
This was a much more in control game, Glenn, for Jayden de Laura. Sat in the pocket, worked his way up in the pocket to make throws, but also, was able. I mean, I like to call him Houdini, man. He just makes some escapes that you wonder, man, how did he just get away from that one? And he was able to turn some of those plays into positive running game runs for this offense. So I thought he was much more stable in this ball game, in both the passing game and the running game, than what we'd seen against Oregon.
He's got great presence, and he feels the pressure. He does a great job. He sets guys up, man, which I really like. And that's getting to be a savvy quarterback and understanding feeling the pressure of somebody coming and then just getting out of there and getting loose. But I think he's done a great job just on that game against Washington. He didn't throw any picks. He lived to live another down. He's starting to learn that. He is maturing as we see it in front of our eyes. And I like to see him keep on doing it, because the next couple of games, we're really going to have to need it, because there's going to be some serious pass rush coming.
And Tetro McMillan, 7 catches for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. Glenn, what have you liked about the way he's developed through these first 7 games?
I looked at the film. I liked the way he was running routes. He's running them harder. Before a couple of games, I didn't think he ran that hard on the routes where he wasn't getting the ball. He's running the routes harder. He's doing a better job of getting physical. And he's saying that if that ball's in the air, it's my ball. So that's what I love about him. He's getting more confident. He's going over the middle, catching the ball in traffic. And he's going to be a star. If he's not already a star, he's just got to keep developing, get faster, and get stronger. And he's going to be a problem for a lot of people in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I don't think we've had a high point type wide receiver probably since going back to Jerron Kreiner would be the last guy that we had that could catch the ball like that.
Yeah, we haven't had that in a while. So he's really a good guy that and now I think him and de Laura are starting to connect a little bit more. They're understanding, where I want the ball, where he's going to be on that sideline pass that he threw. We threw it to him on the side and he came back. I mean, that was really good. The back shoulder one. I think he's getting better at that. They're getting to know each other. So as that matures, they're going to get better.
All right, let's flip it over to special teams, Glenn, and the one everybody was talking about, the onside kick. I was indifferent to it. I understand maybe why you take a chance to try to get another possession, but I just didn't like the timing of it. I thought the timing of it was horrible. You'd already just given up a touchdown going in to put yourself down a score. Now you're going to give the Huskies a short field to put you down 2 scores. I just didn't think that was the right place to try something like that.
Yeah, if they wouldn't have scored on that thing on the before the half, I would have been all right with it. I would have riverboat gambler. Let's do it. That would have been great. But man, if he would have got it, he would have been the greatest decision ever. But you got to live and die with your decisions. I think that was not a very good decision, especially after they scored. If they didn't score and it was a tie ball game, it would have been great.
He had a couple of good returns again. Anthony Simpson, a 27-yard kick return. Jacob Cowing made a really nice move on a punt return to get 17. Tyler Loop, 1 of 2 field goals. He missed a 41-yarder, Glenn. You have a chance, if he makes that field goal, to at least give yourself an onside opportunity to get the ball back and have a chance to win the ball game. That's why those types of kicks late are so important. You've got to be able to make those kicks if you're Tyler Loop.
Yeah, you do. And, we're going to get a kick return for a touchdown, and we're going to get a punt return.
Whoa. Really? It's been a while. I don't think we've had one of those since Devontae Neal.
Get one of those. Those guys are going to break one. They're going to break one. They're going to break one. I think that they're doing a pretty good job of some blocking there. They just need a couple more blocks, and they're going to get one. But those guys have a lot of potential because you can just see it. He's on the cuffs of just getting one to break. So, I just think that we just need to get in this bye week, get healed up. If we have anybody that's injured, get healed up and be ready. Cause you know what? SC's got a doggone bye. I can't believe they did. The Pac-12, I don't know what they're scheduling. I used to get, when I played, we used to get a bye before the ASU game. And that was awesome. Every year I had a bye. And they did that for ASU. I mean, they should do that for the rivalry games. But, I don't think that, it's just weird the way they schedule those things. I just don't understand the theory behind it.
All right, quickly before we get out of here on this one, Glenn, I want to touch on something in terms of the Pac-12 conference and college football in general. You look back 2 years ago when the Wildcats went and played at Washington. And this is an important topic for the two of us just because we're African-American black men that cover this sport. You played this sport. There were 5 black head coaches in the Pac-12 2 years ago this weekend. There is now only 1. And I'm not going to sit here and say that those guys should not have gotten fired because we both know this is a bottom line business. You have to win to keep your job. You have to be successful to keep your job. But Kevin Sumlin is gone from Arizona. Jimmy Lake is gone from Washington. Herm Edwards is now gone from Arizona State. And Carl Durrell is gone from Colorado. The only one left is David Shaw, who's been at Stanford now for 10 plus years. I think he's the dean. I think he's the dean of the conference, if I'm not mistaken. And like I said, I'm not going to say that those guys shouldn't have lost their jobs, but as somebody that wants to see people that look like us succeed at this, it's disappointing that those men were not able to be successful in this conference.
Yeah, it is sad. Some of those circumstances of some of these coaches were just not very good. The way they came in and the situation they came in, and then some of them were self-sabotage. So it just can't do that. And I'd like to see them be successful, every single one of them. I think Shaw saved his job by beating Notre Dame this week. That's it. And then they're going to fire probably that guy too. So he's going to probably get fired too. So he's going to be another African-American is going to be gone too. So it is tough. It's a tough business, man. And I just hope that I don't know anybody that has the formula to be successful. As an African-American coach, in here, Shaw's done it. I think Shaw's done a great job. He's won to like 3 or 4. He's probably been to 4 Rose Bowls. I think he's done that. He's won the conference 4 times. So there's got to be a better showing of our guys at head coaching jobs.
Did your guy Dino Babers win this weekend? They were in a tough one.
Dino's killing it. He's 6-0. Now that's the guy that could be here. Be nice. Yeah,
that would be very nice. All right, it's the Wildcats in the bye week, and then they play that school that I used to love, who I don't really mention by name anymore, which means that, Glenn, this will not be a rivalry game, so you won't have to pay any steak dinners because I'm not with those people right now.
Let's
so
play for a bird.
All right, we'll be back to preview that game against a school that will remain nameless in Los Angeles in 2 weeks.
Bear down.